particulier en Algérie, mais c'était dans des cas relativement désespérés où le pronostic était réservé, parce que, voyez-vous, au XXe ou au XXIe siècle, on ne pouvait pas utiliser justement ce genre de fourmis. Mais c'est des fourmis spéciales qui sont ça s'appelle les fourmis noires, qui sont assez grandes, et c'est là, et ça a été beaucoup utilisé par Abul Qasim al-Zahraoui. Mais il faut dire qu'à cette époque-là, le pronostic était très réservé des patients qui avaient des plaies ou de l'estomac ou du grêle ou du côlon. Voilà.
Right. Thank you. Actually, Anastasis, I couldn't read your Arabic poet by Ibn Sina because it is reflected. So I would love to see it the other way around. It's actually the wrong way around. It's the back of it. But anyway, my actual question is for Robert, and it concerns Faines in his writing. You said it is not clear that he has performed all the experimentations. I find that to be troublesome for myself as a practicing scientist. When we write a review or we write a book, we go into so much detail sometimes of other people's work. I have a problem in that respect because we have the second book that we are publishing, and the late Professor Rabi' Abdul Halim wrote something, and Emily Savage-Smith of Oxford University and Peter Pullman of Manchester University are saying also, casting some doubt that many of these experiments were performed. Yet they are so much detailed that if it's either the author have done them himself or that he have observed them. And I think the gentleman from Tunisia who talked about the lower jaw, there is some explanation in that which I can go into later on.
I cannot answer your question in the sense that when you look at the book and you read the book, you can only accept what the author is writing. So he says in his book, in 2 instances, in trephination and in amputation, that he did this operation. The other 10, he doesn't speak about it. What he tells is his experience from many other authors. So he, you may say, he borrows a number of treatises that he has read and utilizes them to write his book. So we don't know. He was a surgeon, absolutely, but he was also a theoretical professor. So he must have taught all these operations and used probably the texts of other writers. We cannot tell if indeed by the type of writing his different chapters, if these texts are more elaborated than others, than the ones he probably borrowed. So I cannot tell you, well, that is something that tells me that he has performed it himself, unless he tells so.
Of course.
It's the same with Ambroise Paré.
No, my point is whether these experiments took place or not, that somebody else have done. Sometimes we are now coming with our own eyes in the 21st century or the 20th centuries and saying, well, it is unlikely that they have performed any of them, the author or others have performed any of these experimentations because they look so sophisticated. So
I agree with you that they have probably have been performed, for instance, already by the Arab writers. Absolutely. But they have been translated, they have been recopied, and that doesn't tell anything about the copier. Has he done them themselves or not?
Thank you.
For both the question and the answer, there is something very famous in the history of Greek medicine. Galen takes the text of other people by using the I. And so he says, I have done, I have operated, I have treated, etc. While in fact, he just reproduced the text of somebody else without saying he did that. And so they are not using the quotation mark, and it gives the impression that Galen did it when he never did it. So it's a very famous historical problem, let's say, to see whether the I is really the I of the author or I between quotation marks.
Moreover, Fayence, for instance, has a very good reference list. I mean, in the marge of all the pages, you find the authors that he quoted. So he certainly did translate or did copy a number of those authors. So.
There was, and it was treated by some person, and lately he came to me. He has clearly mentioned that Razi is very good observer and writer of clinical experiences.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree absolutely. Arab authors do this, but also Renaissance authors. When you look at Lusitanus, when you look at von Hilden, they absolutely say themselves, I have done this operation and that was the result. Ambroise Paré did the same. So there are certainly quotations of personally performed operations.
La question est pour si je peux l'aimer. Il faut savoir que c'est une médecine grecque installée en Égypte. C'est une médecine, c'est des Grecs installés dans une médecine égyptienne et qui vont s'autoriser donc de la vivisection. C'est la première fois on va avoir plus de 600 hommes disséqués de leur vivant. Et avec ça, Eristrate ne va pas découvrir la circulation, le sang dans les artères.
Merci. Une question pour Dr. Twade.
Je ne vois pas la personne. Où elle est? Ah oui, ok. Ok, oui, voilà, je vous vois. Merci.
Can I ask it in English, if you may?
Okay, as you want.
Yeah.
French, English.
I have great respect for your foundation, and it's really something we need to discover the past. But I think you started with the Greek period. We know that Dioscorides, most of his knowledge and his information, according to Renaissance scholars, they couldn't find any of the plants he was mentioning in Europe. And most of his information came from the Middle East. Don't you think that it's high time that we should include the Phoenician into our world of research and the history, because they did a lot of work and they existed for a long period between the ancient Egyptian, the Babylonian, and they're the hinge between that time and Greek, bearing in mind that Pierre Rossi said that Greece could not fund all this research. They didn't have the economic power to do it. And everything was written in that language. It doesn't mean that it was discovered by them. Thank you.
Thank you. I fully agree with you. I didn't want to go into that because it's way too long problem, let's say, to work with. But I fully agree with you. That's the simplest answer to your question. And so I am exactly on the same page as you. But once again, when you have theoretically 30 minutes to make a presentation, you have to start somewhere. And so practically, let's say it was coherent to start with Dioscorides. I can restart now, in this exact moment, a talk about Dioscorides and his sources, but you'll be here for 2 days. So it's a complicated question, but indeed, I don't believe at all that Greek medicine is a mushroom growing all of a sudden out of a desert. That it's not the case. And so we can investigate the sources of Dioscorides, something which I have done. He is related to several surrounding cultures, and indeed the botany of Dioscorides is not European botany, but Eastern Mediterranean botany. Absolutely true. But once again, for the sake of the convenience, contracting something in 20, 25, 30 minutes, you need to start somewhere. And let's say assumptions, but my assumptions were strictly rhetorical, not scientific. But thank you in any case.
Yes.
Yes, I wanted to ask Professor Jamal Meksani. I think there was a small. Yes. I think that the notion that Hippocrates and his successors wrote that arteries had air and not blood is not a correct one. It's a, it is a misinterpretation of the Greek word pneuma, pneuma, which means spirit and air. So what they really wrote, it was oxygenated blood, blood with air. And Galen, being a doctor to the gladiators, he must have seen a lot of traumas of arteries and blood coming out, not air.
Okay, thank you very much for all. And go to the tea break.
Yeah, we have to shorten our tea break. Instead of 30 minutes, we want to have 20 minutes, and we get back. Don't scare us. I'm
Yes, but not, yes, but now in my presentation I changed it. But
it doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, because it's nearly the same, no?
Yes,
It's nearly the
it's
same.
not very. I did not bring a computer, but I can ask the students to let me correct it.
No, I will give you my computer. I will. When you have your presentation.
Tomorrow.
No, it's okay. I have my laptop today.
Okay.
In the afternoon, I will give my laptop and you have to check.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
I will come to have a printed copy of my paper.
Okay. You want to print your paper today?
Yes.
Oh, no problem. Send me. You have an email. You have a connection.
I prefer the
Okay. I will print my laptop. Yes. We'll give you a presentation. I will send the presentation to live.
Mesela şöyle konuşulabilir. Oluyor burada. Bak mesela görüyorum da burada. İşte Hasan'a yaptıracağım. Siz de Hasan'a yaptırın. Evet, diyeceğim basacak. Evet diyorlar. Olmaz mı?
Aslında şuradan da olabilir.
Oradan düşeriz diye korkuyorum.
Oradan da ama yani sıkıntı yok.
Hayır oradan göstermiyor zaten. Sırf buradan gösteriyor. Bak buradan olur yani. Yapıp. Ya da buraya çıkıp buraya çıkıp buradan düşer mi?
Ben bilgisayardan okurum. Sen de öbür tarafa da gideriz. Ben kendi bilgisayardan okurken sen öbür taraftan
Harika. Müthiştiniz.
zaten hani sen orada fark et.
Ay vallahi böyle zeki adamlarla bir arada olmak çok güzel bir şey. Getir bakayım bizim bilgisayar. Dolu mu bizim bilgisayar ama? Boşalır kalırsam.
Gel şarjı var. Ben var. Anlatabiliyor muyum hocam? Biraz önce hazırlayıp
Getir bakayım benimki.
buraya yükleyelim. Buraya yükleyelim. Tamam mı?
Ben de buradan bakacağım.
Eğer burada olursa. Tamam hocam hadi. Olursa o zaman. Ben açarım. Şu an şey var şarjı.
Şarjı var değil mi?
Hello, good morning again, and thanks for those who have come from the coffee break. It's given me pleasure to start the second session, which will be on the history of surgery in Muslim heritage, state of the art. The first speaker, unfortunately, his presentation has been corrupted somehow, so we are trying to do something about it. So it's a pleasure to ask Professor Neil Sari to give the first talk. And okay. It will be surgical instruments of the Ottoman period.
Students, okay. Now I have a little time, so I will go quickly. I'm now going to talk about the 15th and 16th, that is the classical surgery during the Ottoman period. Yes. Yes, DJ çevirecek. Evet. Çevirdin mi? Ha, tamam. Peki. There are 4 surgical manuscripts written with Arabic alphabet, but in Turkish. And during the 14th and 15th and 16th centuries, there are, of course, much more manuscripts on medicine, since surgical skill was acquired through master apprenticeship method. When we look about the names of the Turkish surgical instruments, we see that there are 21 names that are single word, and there are 24 that are a word group, and these refer to the function of the tool, like bone-piercing instrument. Well, what are the origins of these surgical instruments terminology? 44 names are Turkish in origin, 27 Arabic, 7 Persian, and 3 are of Greek origin. We can say that the instruments that are named in Turkish were known and used by Ottoman surgeons. Sabuncuoğlu is the most famous surgeon of the classical Ottoman period, and he described about 168 surgical instruments, but we do not have any surgical instruments that survived until today, no examples in our hand. This is a list of the general names of the surgical instruments that take place in Turkish surgical texts. We will see them shortly, one by one. There is the great difficulty in defining surgical instruments that are illustrated and described in manuscripts. One reason is that they are schematic drawings, and there's a problem with the different copies. Although the names and descriptions of the surgical instruments are usually the same, they could be depicted differently in different copies. So sometimes the figures do not meet the definitions exactly. This is a great problem. This is why I prepared this presentation. Sabuncuoğlu was a very master surgeon, and the illustrations we find in his manuscript contribute to the recognition of surgical instruments. Though he mainly followed Zehravi's surgical text, he just didn't copy the figures, but possibly he drew these himself, or maybe, I think he drew them himself, but maybe he described it to an artist. And we can see that the main goal of these drawings is to be understood and to be instructive. So when we start to classify these tools according to their shapes as well as their names, we see that though he was faithful to the text, the types of the tools he illustrated are found to be suitable for the described surgical intervention. In shortly, he drew what he knew what he drew because he used them. though many sketches in Tasrif's copies are puzzling, and sometimes we cannot correspond them with the descriptions in the text, and sometimes we can understand how these instruments were employed. They're not very clear. When we start to compare Sabuncuoğlu's drawings and Tasrif copies' drawings, we can provide much more reliable results in defining these instruments. Now, since I have very little time, I will go very fast. First, we will talk about the types of coterie. And in each of my slides, you will see first the English term for the surgical instrument. And in the parentheses, you will see the Turkish names given in surgical texts. We see that these coteries, these different kinds of coteries are included in all the surgical texts, and this is a list of the names. The all-over coterie, as you can see, was drawn, illustrated in miniature pictures, and as you can see from at the right side, I studied 4 manuscripts of Tasrif and the 4 different copies of instruments. But since I don't have much place for them, I usually I'm going to show you those which were published by Spink and his friend. The most important thing is that the illustrations of Sabuncuoğlu are always consistent with each other. The 2 main copies, which was written by himself, are the same. There's a 3rd copy, which was copied about 250 years later. Then all the shapes of the instruments were spoiled because they were copied by someone who did not probably practice surgery. So as you can see on the right side, it is the same all-over coterie, though drawn differently. And this is the claviform bowl-shaped coterie. And if you look at the right side, you cannot really decide which kind of instrument this is. But if you study Sabuncuoğlu illustrations, you can see that there is a knob at the middle of all the drawings. The head is nail-shaped. And this is the bladed T-shaped knife coterie. And still you see the consistency and the different types of drawings at the right side. This is the pointed coterie. The pointed coterie is really practiced like moxibustion, just to stimulate that point. This is the lenticular coterie. For instance, there is no drawing in Tasrif. At least I couldn't find it. We find it in Sabuncuoğlu. This is the crescentic coterie. As you can see, it's always the same in Sabuncuoğlu, while on the right side you see the different forms. All of Sabuncuoğlu's are bent instruments. This is the needle or probe coterie. There's no drawing in Tasrif. Then there's a probe enclosed in a cannula. As you can see, it is very easy to understand how this instrument was used if you study Sabuncuoğlu's text on the left side. This is the hollow coterie, and the Sabuncuoğlu depicts them. This is the trident coterie. As you can see on the left side, Sabuncuoğlu miniature paintings are still consistent, but on the right side you can see very, very different forms drawn by the copiers. There's a great variety, and the points spread like fingers. It's really hard to understand how this kind of coterie could have been employed. This is the circular plate coterie and broad ring coterie. Then when we have a look at the piercing surgical instruments, these are included in all of the 4 surgical manuscripts, and this is a list of the general names. When we look at the needle, at the left side we see the needle, and at the right side we see the needle-like probe. As you can see on the right side, there are handles, and below at the right side They look like curved, slender scalpels, not like the needle-like probe. This is the exploring needle. The sharp points are half-shaped in tasrif copies, while it's triangular and arrow-shaped pointed in Sabunjolo. This is the couching needle. You can see the similarities and the differences, and this is the drill. The drill is in tasrif is triangular and sharp at the point, while it's quite different in Sabunjolo. This is a slender piercing lancet. As you can see, they do not resemble each other. Then let's have a short look at the surgical cutting instruments, and there's a list of these instruments. Usually there are 4 kinds of cutting instruments. One is straight, the other is bellied, the third one is pointed, and the fourth one is curved. And here you can see the scalpels used by Sabunjol in the miniature paintings, the different kinds, the straight, the curved, and the pointed. And this is very interesting. This is the bellied scalpel, which we know from the antique period. It's very interesting that a picture of this bellied scalpel does not exist in tasrif, though it is described, and we can find the shape very similar to those of the antique instruments in Sabunjolo. The knife-shaped scalpel, the illustrations in the copies are quite different. A very fine, sharp, curved scalpel. Curved blender scalpel. As you can see, the differences, quite different. The same blade, but quite different drawings. Very fine, smooth-tipped scalpel. For instance, the same blade here is drawn in 4 different shapes, while Sabunjolus are similar. Sharp, 2-edged, fine, narrow scalpels, all alike. Sabunjolus are all alike, while the drawings of the different shapes of the same knife in tasrif is quite different. Spike-shaped knives, you can see that, for instance, it's like a guesswork. The artist probably who copied it did not know anything about this knife, and so it does not correspond with the spike-shaped knife, and it does not have a special name in tasrif. This is the oliveri scalpel. It is not oliveri in it is shaped, the double-edged surgical knife, the lancet, the thruster midfa. As you can see, the two are very different. The two-ended scalpels, you can see the differences. Lentil-shaped blades, there's no illustration in tasrif. A small chisel, you can see that they resemble each other but not the same. And here is the pickaxe-shaped lancet. As you can see, tasrif differs quite from the one of Sabunjol, which are all consistent. Broad scalpel and the scarificator and the razor. This razor is described in all surgical manuscripts. Blade between 2 plates. As you can see on the left side, you can understand what kind of a blade it is, though in tasrif it is quite puzzling because it's not depicted well. The hidden thin knife, pointed fine scissors, as you can see, it's always recurved. Blades are never curved in Sabunjolu. There are curved blades in tasrif, and also there's below on the right side there's an extra ring. We don't know what it's for. You can see the differences between the 2 manuscripts. Left Sabunjolu, right tasrif. And these are the pincers, forfex with scissor handles, much more descriptive. Hook scalpel and sickle blade. And the saw, probe-like saw, firm bow saw, then the osteotome and the lenticular chisel. Then let's have a short look at the scraping tools. There are various shapes of scrapers. We can find it on all of the Turkish surgical manuscripts. And we see the pictures all together here. On the right side, there are the serrated handles in tasrif. It's really hard to understand how it was employed. Flat scraper and small scraper. Forked scraper used as a lever and hooked scraper. Fine scraper, bent scraper. Scraper with concavity and other scrapers, and the respiratory, and the file. The file has a special name in Turkish, though it is not specially named in tasrif. As you can see, the illustrations in tasrif are quite different from each other. Wettus or lever, this resembles a crowbar, and as you can see, again in tasrif there are different shapes. Small lever. And let's look at the hooks. It's used as a pair of forceps. And in these miniature pictures, you can see the hook and scalpel used all together. This is the simple hook and the blunt hooks. It's really hard to understand the handles like this, how they were employed. A double hook. The hook ends curve away from each other. It's really hard to understand it. And this is a guarded triple hook. Again, the hook ends curved away from each other like fingers. And the tweezers of tasrif is really art, does not resemble tweezers. The forceps, the tooth forceps, and the crusher, the cephalotribe, as you can see, very different. For instance, in the millet copy, there is no pivot. The painter did not see the importance of it, probably. The cannula tube and probe cautery, you can understand how it's used from Sabuncuoğlu. This is a tool resembling a fine section of reed. The left side, Sabuncuoğlu, can be understood very well. It reflects the description in tasrif. The catheter and the funnel with a plunger, as you can see, for instance, the end of the instrument is closed on the right side. This is from the millet copy, but it is a funnel. It must be open. This is a fine funnel and tube of a surgical drain. The ones below are from tasrif. They're really hard to understand. So when we finish this, last of all, I would like to tell you about the fact that there is a possibility of a number of different surgical instruments which might have been used by Ottoman surgeons, which have not been illustrated in these surgical manuscripts. I can give you two examples. One is the bullet extractor. Why did it not exist in copies of Zehravi's tasrif? Because there was no bullet used in wars in his time, and the clamp. And this is named Burgi with a central screw. It's very interesting. It says, insert the tip of the tool into the wound. When the tip reaches the bullet at the top of the instrument is rotated and the bullet is pulled out. So then you remove it with a çifte. It is a forceps. And last, I will show this illustration from Della Croce's surgical book, which depicts the Ottoman Turkish surgery at the battlefield. And in the front, you can see a screw-type bullet extractor used by the Ottoman surgeons. So this proves that it was probably used by the Ottoman surgeons, though not depicted in surgical manuscripts. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Professor Sharik. And our next speaker is Dr. Sharik, who will be speaking on the venesection historical aspects and application in osteoarthrosis.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Chairman, dear delegates, it's my privilege to be with you on the very occasion of this 6th Conference on History of Medicine and especially Surgical Heritage. I am very much thankful for the organizers. I am very much thankful for the organizers to give me an opportunity to present this work, which I have been carried out some 10 years before. So this first or venesection, historical aspect, concept and application in osteoarthrosis. So, first is a procedure by which the blood of the body has been expelled out to cure the diseases in Unani system of medicine, or rather Greco-Arabian system of medicine, which ancient physicians have carried out on the patients. So, the concept of before going to the concept of this venesection, I have to express some of the words about this caravan of Unani system of medicine. Unani system of medicine, or the Greco-Arabian system of medicine, is widely practiced in in India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and it has been imbibed in the national health policy also. So this knowledge from Mesopotamia was traveled to Greece, and Greece to Arab, then it comes to Persia, and Persia into India, sometime in 10th century. So Babylonian medicine, Egyptian medicine, Greco-Roman medicine, Arab medicine, Persian or Central Asian medicine, these are all the vernaculars of Unani medicine, and all imbibed in a single system of medicine, which is now practiced in India. This was practiced in European universities also till 16th century. But after the Industrial Revolution and the discoveries, scientific discoveries like microscope, biochemistry, biotechnology, and further, so it has been divided into two. And what was not experimented exactly in the laboratory, which was turned behind, and that was taken up by these societies of the Asia, and they have developed in their own stream of health systems. But they didn't left the concept of Unani system of medicine that chiefly differs from the allopathic system of medicine due to the presence of concept of temperament. Other things are very much similar to allopathic system of medicine, but the concept of temperament is such a concept that differs from two systems. This system of medicine, this Greco-Arabian system of medicine, has been carried out by three ways. Number one, ilaj bil tadbir, that is regimenal therapy, or the ilaj bil ghidha, that is dietotherapy. At first step, we try to carry out the treatment on these two things. Second number is ilaj bil tadawa, that is pharmacotherapy. And lastly, we go for the option of surgery. These are the 6 essential factors which are responsible to maintain the health of a person and to regain the health if it is lost. In modulation of these 6 essential factors can rejuvenate the whole body and remove the disease of the system. So this regimenal therapy which was talking about, this is first or the venesection. This modulation especially refers to istafragh ihtabas, evacuation and retention. What to be retented in the body, that should be done, and what should be eliminated from the body, that should be done to a proper health status. So, to eliminate out the toxic materials from the body, we are letting out the blood in 3 ways. These 3 ways are this cupping, then leaching, application of leeches, then lastly this phlebotomy first or this venesection. So ilaj bil dawa is carried out by these drugs, and ilaj bil yad are carried out by these instruments. What is the basic concept in treatment of the Unani system of medicine? This health condition is converted into a disease when there is abnormal temperament which produces humors, abnormal humors, or morbid materials that might be of various natures. When we correct of imbalance of temperament, qualitatively and quantitatively, that might be achieved by expulsion of morbid material, that is known as istafragh. This istafragh is carried out by first hijama, taliq, that is leaching, qay, vomiting, then tariq, diaphoresis, then ishal, purgation, and munzij musil therapy is specialized therapy in Unani system of medicine to concoct the toxic material, getting it to be able to get out. If we go through the concept of venesection, but because we are talking about the venesection today, this knowledge, it seems that Greeks imbibed from the Babylonia and Mesopotamia, Egypt also. But literature is not very much clear about that. But the Unani physician who have taken a lot of interest in that and developed, these are Erasistratus, Hierophilus, then Galen. Galen has documented and experimented well about venesection. He has mentioned first time that how much blood to be eliminated out and how to do it scientifically. Then other scientists of Unani medicine are also contributed a lot in venesection. Ahmad bin Muhammad Tabri, then Ali bin Rabban Tabri, then Ibn Sina, Zakaria Razi, and other Unani physicians which were present at the time of this migration of Unani medicine in Central Asia, and then when it introduced in India, then Hakim Ajmal Khan, Akbar Arzani, or the Azam Khan, these are the important physicians. Now we can see this first letting out of the blood through venesection is a non-drug regimenal intervention carried out in different veins as per the indications to eliminate out the putrefied or morbid humors. Derangement of the humoral temperament is occurred due to presence of morbid humors in the body and blood circulation as well, which are responsible for production of the disease. Venesection is applied for the purpose of tanqiya mawad. It is an important term here. Elimination of morbid material from the body. This procedure ultimately improves the quality of the blood. This thing is very much important in case of first or venesection. The qualitative as well as quantitative derangement of the humors can lead to disease condition, and correction of it restore the health. It is believed that the intervention of first detoxify the blood and improves its condition qualitatively. There are several ways for quantitative estimation of blood, but it is tough to monitor the blood qualitatively during the intervention of first. Hemorrheology, a new branch of science, can provide a suitable answer to this problem. The hemorrheological parameters can be applied to monitor the qualitative changes in the blood before and after the intervention. Actually, it is very easy to quantify the parameters of the blood, like hemoglobin. We can calculate how much it is. We can calculate what are the number of WBCs, what are the number of RBCs. We can calculate this, what is the status of ESR quantitatively. But it is a problem everywhere in Unani system of medicine, how to quantify the quality of the blood. This is the thing. And the scientist of Unani medicine says that application of venesection improves the quality of the blood. So it was a problem there. I, when did my MD in this Unani medicine, tried to explore the scientific answer of this question. So I will tell you. What is hemorrheology? We all know hemorrheology is a science, new science, which describes the composition of the various compartments of the blood as well as the fashion of flowing of the blood in the vessels. This has also been finalized that out of the 4 humors, phlegm or the balgam is known as Unani medicine, was considered the most important cause of the rheological disturbances, followed by blood, yellow bile and black bile. So these are some scientists associated with this theory. Now, what my contribution is that I have suggested in my study that these are the 7 parameters on which we can quantify the quality of the blood. This is plasma viscosity, whole blood viscosity, red blood cell aggregation, red blood cell rigidity, flow of RBCs, measurement of RBC aggregation, measurement of platelet aggregation. So these are the details of these parameters. This is very important thing when the Unani medicine says this damme ghaliz is the main cause in production of the diseases due to obstruction of flowing of the blood. What is damme ghaliz? It was not mentioned in Unani literature, but I suggested to imbibe the knowledge of hemorrheology that there is very much clear in the literature of hemorrheology that there are Raleigh formation, clumps formation of cells. When there is metabolic disorders, long-standing infections, and all that, then these 7 parameters are altered together, and the macromolecules adsorbed on the surfaces of the cells, and the cells clump together. This clumping of these cells obstruct the flowing of blood. This is known as in French, Raleigh formation. So this is the thing which became very much helpful in exploring the mechanism of action of this first. These are the natural photograph of clump formation and Raleigh formation, and this has been after intervention of first. Normally, the blood flow is rapid in arterioles and slower in the collecting venules. Blood cells changes their shape while traverse the capillaries. When the velocity of blood is reduced, RBCs are dispersed, but at very slow rate, they start to form Raleigh. Hence, blood acquires high viscosity and stasis. This stasis accelerates the Raleigh formation, and further stasis that deprives the cells of the ATP. Therefore, the blood pH decreases and acidic environment takes place. This blood is known as dame ghaliz or morbid blood. Acidosis results in the adrenal catecholamine output, which leads to increment in the aggregation and adhesion of platelet. This condition results into raised viscosity of plasma and increased adhesiveness of RBCs. Local hematocrit value rise, leading to increased breakdown of metabolic products. Therefore, the regimental intervention through first enhances the local blood flow, remove stasis, which helps in normalizing the local pH. Cell rigidity checks the Rayleigh formation, clears the already formed clumps, hence improve the quality of the blood. This change can be monitored by applying these hemorheological parameters. When there is stasis, what happens? Rayleigh formation is there, viscosity increases, and due to that, further stasis takes place, slowing of blood flow is there, accumulation of CO2 at capillary level, acidosis takes place, blood pH decreases, and this vicious cycle deprives the cell of ATP, cell aggregation further takes place. Lower pH produces swelling of RBCs due to red cell rigidity. Red cell rigidity increases slowing of blood flow. Hypoxia takes place, further increase in rigidity takes place, and the shape of RBCs become ball-like shapes which already occlude in the flowing of blood. So first is a mode of ilaj with tadbir of Unani system of medicine, in which a lancet is used to puncture the vein of the body at required site to let out the blood. The aim of the procedure is to get rid of the morbid humors from particular organ or the system circulation and detoxify the system. Application of this procedure definitely improve the quality of the blood. Scientific studies suggest that the basic pathology in microcirculation at capillary level is hemostasis, which leads to increased plasma viscosity, whole blood viscosity, fibrinogen, red cell rigidity, white cell rigidity, platelet aggregation, and red cell aggregation. This condition leads further acidosis and stasis of various cytokines, catecholamines, serotonin, and other biochemical substances. This stasis is released by application of venesection, and these disturbances are removed. Hence, the quality of the blood is improved. Now, we have explored this mechanism of action with the knowledge of this cytokinetics, hemorheology, and the basic hemodynamics. After that, we have designed a study. In the cases of osteoarthrosis, especially knee osteoarthrosis, we apply this procedure, and this study was a controlled study. Two groups were there. One was for the standard treatment, and second group was standard treatment with application of this venesection as per the classics of Unani medicine. So duration of study 1 year, duration of protocol therapy was 6 weeks, that is 42 days. Study design was open controlled study. Sample size 20 in each group. Group A was of control, 20 cases. Group B trial, that means first plus conservative therapy. Procedure of first and schedule of venesection was there at baseline 14th day and 28th day. Control drug was capsule ojai, a classical formulation of Unani system of medicine, and locally Rogan Surkh an oil is applied on the knee. No concomitant therapy was taken. GC norms were followed strictly. Assessment of efficacy, clinical parameters were there: joint pain, morning stiffness, joint swelling, effusion, muscular weakness, restriction of movement. Then lab parameters were there: arthritic profile, R factor, C-reactive proteins, ASO titer, ESR, uric acid. Then radiological parameter, X-ray of affected joint was also taken. Then clinical assessment of safety was done as clinical assessment, Then hematological assessment, TLC, DLC, SR, HB. Then biochemical assessment by LFT, KFT. Assessment period was there clinically at 0 baseline, then 14 day, 28 day, and 42nd day. Lab and radiological examinations were done at baseline and last follow this 42 day. So what was the result? You can see here a very significant result of the group B, where the standard treatment along with the venesection was applied, particularly in joint pain. I have done this work and I was surprised when I saw on follow-up the patients that when the venesection was done, the pain decreases significantly at first follow-up. Then it gradually reduced in comparison to group A of this conservative therapy. Then reduction in morning stiffness. It is also significant in comparison to standard therapy. Then muscular weakness. There is also significant response in muscular weakness. Reduction in swelling and effusion was also there, in better in comparison to standard therapy. Then restriction of movement naturally comes down with this. Documentation was properly done. Statistics were appropriate. Statistics formula was applied. This Mann-Whitney test was applied for comparison between the two groups, and Wilcoxon sign rank test was applied within the group significance. So at conclusion, the intervention was found safe and well tolerated. The intervention was found more effective in comparison to conservative treatment of what is given in eugenicist of medicine. Conclusion is that venesection especially effect in the cases of this osteoarthritis to reduce the pain and associated symptoms. So thank you very much to bear with me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sharik Ali Khan. It gives me great pleasure now to invite Dr. Fouad Laboudi from Morocco, and his presentation will be on surgery during the 14th century through the manuscript Kitab al-Istiqsa by Muhammad al-Shafrah al-Kirbiliani.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. شكرا السيد الرئيس. اسمحوا لي أن أقدم مداخلتي المعنونة جراحة في الأندلس خلال القرن الرابع عشر من خلال مخطوط الاستقصاء والإبرام في علاج الجراحة والأورام لمحمد الشفرة القربلياني. كتقديم لهذا العمل تكمن أهمية كتاب الاستقصاء والإبرام في علاج الجراحة والأورام في كونه ثاني كتاب للجراحة يصل إلينا مخطوطا منذ كتاب الزهراوي، وهذا الكتاب من التراث الأندلسي. يمكن عده أيضا من المؤلفات الهامة في تاريخ الطب الإسلامي لكونه عني بنوع خاص من الطب برز فيه أو برع فيه الزهراوي وحده. لم يصلنا مؤلف غير مؤلف الزهراوي الذي هو التصريف باستثناء كتاب القربلياني هذا، مع فرق هام بين التأليفين. كتاب الزهراوي عني بكافة تخصصات الجراحة، خصوصا مقالته 30. القربلياني اقتصر على، إن صح التعبير، اقتصر على جراحة الأورام والجراحة العامة. مؤلفه هو أبو عبد الله بن علي بن فرج القربلياني الملقب بالشفرة. هذا اللقب الشفرة نظرا لكونه كان جراحا، أصله من قربليان قرب أليكانتي في إسبانيا الحالية، وهو يعد من المدجنين، أي الذين عاشوا تحت حكم نصره بعد سقوط مناطقهم الأندلسية. هذه تمثال نصفي من البرونز في مدينة إلش بإسبانيا، تكريما لهذا الجراح. كنظرة عامة للطب في الأندلس خلال القرن الرابع عشر، الطب في الأندلس نهاية القرن الثالث عشر وبداية القرن الرابع عشر عانى من الاضطرابات السياسية والاجتماعية التي عانت منها إسبانيا أو الأندلس أو إسبانيا عموما. السبب هو حروب الاسترداد المسيحي في جزء هام منها، وحيث نفتقر إلى المصادر الكافية لتحليل الحركات العلمية والثقافية التي تطورت خلال هذه الفترة بعمق. من بين أطباء هذه المرحلة والذين اكتسبوا سمعة جيدة، هناك طبيب ابن الرقام أبو عبد الله محمد الأوسي، صاحب الكتاب الكبير على طريقة كتاب الشفاء لابن سينا. العادة جرت للحديث عن عالمين من أعلام هذه المرحلة. ابن الخطيب لسان الدين بن الخطيب السليماني المدفون هنا في مدينة فاس، وابن خاسمة الأندلسي. بالتالي عازم على جعل هذه المداخلة مساهمة بسيطة في تاريخ الطب ونفض الغبار عن جراح أندلسيين مغمورين شيئا ما. المصادر أساسا اعتمدنا على مخطوط الاستقصاء والإبرام، موجودة مجموعة نسخ منه. هناك نسخة في المكتبة الوطنية بالرباط، هناك نسخة في المكتبة الخزانة الحسنية، مخطوط كلية الآداب، ومخطوط القرويين الذي لم نوفق في الحصول عليه بعد. هناك مجموعة أعمال تطرقت لهذا الجراح، على قلتها هناك الطب والأطباء في الأندلس لمحمد العربي الخطابي الصادر 1988. هناك عمل رينو 1935 الصادر بمجلة هسبريس سمودة بعنوان جراح مسلم من مملكة غرناطة. هناك أيضا مستشرقة إسبانية ترجمت هذا العمل وحققت من خلال أطروحتها 1988. هناك مقال أيضا للأستاذ الكعدان بعنوان النظرية السببية للأورام. هذه هي مجموعة الأعمال التي تطرقت لهذا العمل. بالنسبة لحياة هذا الجراح الأندلسي، محمد كما قلنا أبو عبد الله محمد بن علي بن فرج القربلياني، متوفى سنة 1360، لقب بمحمد الشفرة لبراعته بالجراحة. نسبه قربليان نسبة إلى بلدة قربليان الواقعة بمنطقة أليكانتي. لسان الدين بن الخطيب في كتابه الإحاطة في أخبار غرناطة ترجمة لهذا الجراح، حيث قال: كان رجلا ساذجا. ساذج ليست بمعنى السذاجة الحالية، ولكن ربما بمعنى كان حسن الطوية. كان مشتغلا بصناعة الطب، عاكفا عليه عمره، محققا لكثير من أعيان النبات، كلفا به، متعيشا من عشبه أول أمره، وارتاد المنابت، سرح بالجبال، ثم تصدر للعلاج، ورأس به، وحفظ الكثير من أقوال أهله. بعد ذلك رحل إلى العدوى أي عدوة المغرب، وأقام بمراكش سنين عدة، ثم كر إلى غرناطة عام 61 و700، وبها هلك على إثر وصوله. شيوخه كما ترجم لهم لسان الدين الخطيب أيضا، قال أنه قرأ على أبيه ببلده، كذلك أخذ الجراحة عن فوج من محسني صناعة عمل اليد من الروم، أي المشتغلين بالجراحة، كما قرأ على الطبيب عبد الله بن سراج. أماكن إقامته متعددة: سرقسطة، غرناطة، بلنسية، فاس، سبتة، ومراكش، كما ذكرها هو في مخطوطه. هذه ساحة في مدينة إلشي مسماة باسم محمد الشفرة القربلياني، وعليها لوحة فيها شيء من ترجمته. كما ترون ولد بقربليان، مسلم من منتصف القرن الثالث عشر، تعلم عن والده أسرار النباتات الطبية أولا، بعد ذلك تصدر للجراحة. بالنسبة لمؤلفاته يذكر ابن الخطيب كتابا في النبات، لكنه لم يذكر هذا المخطوط الذي ذكره غيره، وهو موضوعنا كتاب الاستقصاء في علاج الجراحة والأورام. هذا المخطوط فيه نهج تعليمي وعلمي واضح، يخاطب ابنه ويعلمه قواعد الصناعة، ويلح عليه في أن يعتمد على التجربة وألا يعول على الكتب فقط. قسم كتابه إلى 3 كتب أو 3 مقالات. أولها المقالة الأولى وهي حول الأورام، المقالة الثانية في الجراحات والجبر، والمقالة الثالثة في الأدوية المفردة والمركبة. بالنسبة للمقالة الأولى يتطرق إلى أسباب وعوامل نشوء الأورام، لخصها في عاملين: تفرق اتصال وسوء مزاج. تفرق اتصال بمعنى أنه يحدث انفتاق في العروق فينصب الدم إلى المواضع الفارغة ويملأها دما فتولد الورم هيماتوم. بالنسبة لسوء المزاج، الحالة المزاجية بما تؤثر على الحالة الصحية، وربما كما نعلم حاليا على الحالة المناعية للجسم. ثم قسم الأورام إلى سببين آخرين: أورام من سبب سابق والذي يكون سببه داخل جسم الإنسان، أورام من سبب بادٍ وهو السبب من خارج جسم الإنسان. بعد ذلك يعدد حوالي 30 نوعا من الأورام، أهمها دماميل، الورم اللمفاوي، الورم الدهني، الدبيلات، العديد من الأورام. المقالة الثانية يتحدث عن الجراحات بكافة أنواعها. في البداية يذكر أن أسباب هذه الجراح متعددة، منها ضربة سيف أو سكين أو حجر، وتختلف أنواع هذه الجراح حسب المكان الذي حدث فيه الجرح. يقسم الجراح إلى جرح بسيط وهو الذي يقطع اللحم وحده، جرح مركب وهو الذي يقطع اللحم والعظم والعصب وغيره من العروق. علاج هذه الجروح تختلف حسب نوعها وحسب أماكنها. خصص مقالة في المقالة الثالثة فصلا عن إخراج السهام. ما رقني فيه هو السهم في الدماغ، حيث يقول: واعلم أن السهم إن وقع بالدماغ وأوغل فيه وانتهى إلى أن انتقب الصفاق ودخل في المخ فإن كلامه ينقطع وتبطل حركته. بالنسبة للمقالة الثالثة خصصها للأدوية المفردة والمركبة. الأدوية المفردة رتبها حسب ترتيب أبجدي مبتدئا بنبات الإرسا. أما فيما يتعلق بالأدوية المركبة فذكر العديد من المراهم، أولها المرهم النخلي، ثم ذكر العديد من الضمادات التي توضع في لغاية مختلفة، من بينها ضماد سماه ضماد الرازي بوصف كاف عنه. بالنسبة لخلاصة الأولية عن هذا العمل، بالنسبة لدوافع العمل يذكر القربلياني أن الذي دفعه لتأليف هذا العمل هو قلة من مارس صناعة الجراحة، حيث يقول: استخرت الله تعالى في تأليف كتاب يحصر علاجها ويضبط مجموعها واندراجها ليكون في خزانة السيد الرئيس ولي الأمر، وسميته بكتاب الاستقصاء والإبرام في علاج الجراحات والأورام، وقسمه 3 مقالات: الأولى في الأورام، والثانية في الجراحات وإخراج السام، والثالثة في النبات. بالنسبة للغته هي لغة واضحة سهلة، أقرب ما تكون إلى الكلام بعض الأحيان إلى الكلام الدارج. هذا المخطوط غني بالمصنفات الفنية المستعملة في تسمية شتى أصناف الأورام ومراتب الجروح كما رأينا في إشارة قبل هذا. كذلك ما رقني في هذا المخطوط هو العرفان والإحالات للأطباء السابقين والأساتذة السابقين ومعلمين السابقين، حيث يذكر مجموعة من الإحالات لأبي القاسم الزهراوي، الشيخ الرئيس بن سينا، غالينوس، أبو قراط. في بعض الحالات يذكر وبعض شيوخي، العديد من هذه الأمثلة. يشترط من بين ما يشترط بالنسبة للجراحة العلم الجيد بالتشريح، حيث يقول: وقد يعرض من فصد الباسيليق ما هو أعظم فإن تحته شريانا عظيما، فربما زاد الفاسد في عمق الفصد فبلغ الشريان فيفتحه، فعرض منه نزيف يقصر قطعه. يشترط كذلك لممارسة الجراحة التجربة، هو أيضا لا يقدم على عمل بدون تجربة، حتى أنه لما تعرض لكسر في ساقيه جرب العلاج على نفسه، حيث يذكر كثيرا: مما جربت، وهذا مما جربت، وقد جعلت لنفسي لما انكسرت قصبة ساقي دائما تجربة. كما يظهر كثيرا من التحرز والتحفظ، وينصح بالأنات والتثبت في تشخيص العلاج. يطلب كذلك الابتعاد عن مداواة الحالات الصعبة التي لا يرجى شفاؤها، خصوصا الأورام المتعفنة والأورام السرطانية. كذلك عمله ينبني على الملاحظة الملاحظة والاستنتاج. حتى مثلا يقول: حتى صار يخرج من الورم مائية شبيهة بلعاب الحلزون، فعلمت أن ذلك القضى من حيث كانت المدة حتى آخره. هو هذا المخطوط مخطوط طبي جراحي تغذية الحمية، مع بعض الإشارات لعلاجات الألم. قلنا الجراحة العامة مع ذكر أو الإفاضة في بعض التخصصات، مثلا إصابات الصدر، إصابات البطن، وإصابات أو جراحات الدماغ. يتحدث كذلك عن بعض عن الآثار الجانبية للبقاء طريحا في الفراش. بالنسبة لعلاج الألم، أكيد القربلياني لم يكن سباقا لعلاج الألم، ولكنه أدلى بدلوه بين الدلاء كما قال الشاعر. مثلا يقول: فيدق مع مخ البيض من ورق البنج والخشخاش والكزبرة الرطبة، ويضمد به والبزرقطون مع الحليب يسكن الوجع. يتحدث كذلك شيئا ما عن تشريح المرضي للأورام، حيث يقسم الأورام لأورام صلبة، أورام رخوة. كذلك يقوم بتعريف جميل للسرطان من حيث تشبيه السرطان بسرطان البحر، فيقول أنه من هنا أتت تسمية السرطان، ويصف السرطان بنوع متقرح ونوع غير متقرح. كما يتحدث عن التكهن في العديد من الحالات عن التكهن بتطور المرض، مثلا يقول فقل منها ما يبرأ. وأخيرا يتحدث عن بعض الأخطاء الطبية وخبرته الطبية، حيث اشتكى كثيرا من الكثير من منتحلي هذه المهنة من الجهال والذين لا يكون لهم علم ولا ميراث بذلك. مثلا يقول مثل الرباط الذي يربطه الجهال عند قصبة الساق أو قصبة الذراع، فإن أكثر ما يشتغلون بذلك الجهال، فيشدون العمائم والجبائر حتى تمنع نفوذ الحرارة الغريزية. كخاتمة، أهمية هذا المخطوط كتاب الاستقصاء والإبرام في علاج الجراحة والأورام. أول كتاب طبي كتب باللغة العربية ومخصص لعلم الأورام في جزء منه. الخلاصة الثانية هو ثاني كتاب في مجال الجراحة خاصة وصل إلينا بعد كتاب التصريف لمن عجز عن التأليف، ويعطينا لمحة هامة حول العلاجات النباتية والجراحية خلال القرن الرابع عشر في بلاد المغرب والأندلس. وشكرا جزيلا.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fuad. The next paper is from Turkey, Dr. Ahmad Achiduman, a title, A Study on Wounds in the Head in Kitab al-Umda fi Sina'a al-Jiraha by Ibn al-Quf. Fadal.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear chairman, dear colleagues and students, my presentation is a study on wounds in the head in the Kitab al-Umda fi Sina'a al-Jiraha by Ibn al-Quf. Ebu Faraj Ibn al-Quf, born in Kerek in August 1233, Usaybiya was the first his medicine teacher. He taught Ibn al-Quf the Mesail Hunayn ibn Sak, El-Fusul, and Takdimetül Marife of Hippocrates, books by Ebu Bekir Muhammad bin Zekeriya al-Razi also. He served in the art of medicine at Ejlun Castle for many years, and then he returned to Damascus and worked with the patients from the city castle, and he died in 1286. He has many works. One of them is Kitab al-Umda fi Sina'a al-Jiraha. Aim of the present study is to investigate the knowledge on head wounds and their treatments contained in his Kitab al-Umda fi Sina'a al-Jiraha. Kitab al-Umda fi Sina'a al-Jiraha printed in 2 volumes in Dairetül Marifet Osmaniye in Hyderabad in 1937 and 38, reprinted by this book by the Institute for the History of Arabic Islamic Science of the Johann Wolfgang Goethe University in 1997. The 70th treatise of the book is on treatment of the wound and the fracture and dislocation. The first chapter is on treatment of the wound, and the second one on treatment of the blow and the fall, and the 15th chapter on treatment of the skull fractures. Relevant chapters were translated from Arabic to English, after which they were truly examined. The results section presents the obtained knowledge, and the discussion compares it to other previous works in the field. In the first chapter, Ibn al-Quf classifies organs in 2 types: those which are greatly harmful when wounded, even deadly ones, and those which are not harmful. He refers to the 6th chapter of aphorism of Hippocrates, according to which the brain, heart, stomach, liver, kidney, small intestine, and bladder belong to a first group. Ibn al-Kuf reports that the small brain wounds, particularly in one of the two ventricles, will heal. However, in the case of larger wounds or those including both ventricles, the patient will die quickly. This information is supported with the name of Hippocrates. Ibn al-Kuf designates head wounds as shajja and classifies them into six following types: Sadi'a wounds with no fracture, Hashime wounds involving skull fracture, Wadiha wounds where the skull bone becomes visible, Munakkile wounds where the bone has come out of the skin, Memume wounds where the bane or the wounds reach the dura mater, and Jaife wounds where the bane reaches the ventricle. Ibn al-Kuf then describes the treatment for the first three types of wounds, for Sadi'e, Hashime, and Wadi'e. He presents the general measures to be taken and the medicines to be used for the treatment of the wound. In general, if there is only light bleeding from the wound, blood should be removed from the patient as much as he or she can tolerate. If there is a heavy bleeding from the wound, the patient should be bled by cupping. The patient should not ingest sour or cold foods or drinks. The patient's nature or belly should be softened. If these steps are not enough, an enema should be performed. Locally, the first hair should be cut. Next, any of the following local medicines should be applied to the wounds. One of the example is a mixture of equal amounts of crushed aloe, myrrh, sarcocola, dragon's blood, Egyptian stones, Jewish spots, Arabic gum, and Lemnian earth. A hare's hair should then be mixed into the medicine. The wound surrounding is anointed with rose oil. During summertime, the wound and the head are kept from cold. And the above-mentioned powdered drugs are placed on the suture, and once the suture is taken off, the wound is treated similar to ulcerous wounds. In the second chapter, Ibn al-Kuf mentions that blows and falls cause more harm to larger-bodied persons. For this reason, the damage tends to be lower in children than in adults, owing to their size and bone flexibility. And he also reports that blows and falls that have an impact on the heart or on the pit of the stomach are lethal, whereas those that have an impact on the head cause apoplexy and mental confusion. He supports this information with references from the 7th chapter of the Aphorisms of Hippocrates, which he interprets following Galen's interpretation. Ibn al-Kuf discusses the surgical treatment of the last three types of wound, the wound described in the first chapter. In the 15th chapter, he indicates that the skin cut may or may not accompany the skull fracture. When there is more than one fracture, there may solely be a skin cut, or there may also be more than one skin cut. Ibn al-Kuf highlights the importance of two following treatments circumstances in skull fractures. Because skull bones are different than all other bones of the body, one is callous tissue and the bandage of the wound site. The callous tissue, he says, the skull cannot be wrapped by the nature like in other bones, only the outer surface is wrapped. Therefore, the head must be efficiently protected from the extreme warmth and cold and bumps, and he adds, why should it be like that? And bandage of the wound site, he says, bandaging a skull fracture differs from bandaging all other bones of the body because matter is not removed, which happens when bandaging the other bones. And about evaluating the wound, first hair must be shaved. If the skin is peeled off, the wound should be cleaned with cotton and the bone should be examined. If the broken bone is concealed in blood, ink should be placed on the wound. Pieces of cloth should be soaked in a rose oil placed on the wound, which should then be bandaged. Once the bandage is untied, the bone is scraped and examined. Sorry. If there is something black in the bone, then it's fractured. That place should be scraped a second time. If it clears off, it means that the fissure is not penetrable. If the ink remains on the bone, this means that fissure is penetrable. The fissure is penetrable, whether penetration is reached to dura mater and whether the dura mater is separated. Moisture coming out of the dura mater, that is, in my opinion, CSF leakage, indicates that the dura mater is separated when the moisture is abundant and there is pus and the dura is painful. Its treatment is irrespective of whether the dura mater is detached. The first hair must be completely shaved. The next blood is taken from the patient, and the patient is loosened with a casia lambative. 2 intersecting incisions are made in the place to be operated. The skin is flayed. If bleeding occurs, it is filled with old cloth of pieces. Surgical paste soaked in olive oil and walnut wine and placed on the wound and bandaged. On the subsequent day, the bandage is untied and the bone is drilled. The patient should sit appropriately to remove the bone. Cotton or wool is placed to the patient's ears to protect them from the crack sound. 2 assistants firmly hold the 4 corners of the skin with soft cloth pieces. The skin is then pulled upwards and flayed until the bone appears. Softer bone, such as child's head, should be cut with tools such as scythe or a thin saw. If the bone is thick, it is bored with a drill. A piece of shell is placed between the bone and the dura mater, and all splints are removed. If there is a remaining bone, it may prick into the dura, which will then become swollen. The fractured bone must be removed before 7 days in the summer and 10 days in the winter. After the surgery, the pieces of skin are gathered and put onto 2 or 3 layers of cloth pieces soaked in the rose oil and mixture of iris, wedge flour, powder,